Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk to you about how to change a negative foundational belief once you've discovered your negative foundational beliefs. So, if you already are super well versed on negative beliefs and all that stuff, you can skip to like halfway through this video where I will get to the actual point of how to change the negative belief. I'll actually just put the timestamp down below where you can click to where I get to actually how to change it. But if you are someone who is new here and you are like, what is a negative foundational belief? How do I find my negative foundational beliefs? I'm just going to basically give you a quick summation so that you can know what we're talking about. So a negative foundational belief is essentially any painful belief you have about yourself or about the world that dictates your behavior and dictates your perception in a way that causes you to suffer. That's essentially the most clean way that I can put it. So in nature, in reality, there is pain, but there is not suffering. And I'm going to make another video on the difference between pain and suffering and how to have pain but not suffering later, but that's basically what it is. If you've got a negative foundational belief about yourself or a negative foundational belief about the world, it's not that what you believe is actually true and actually happening. It's that your belief is going to affect your filter so that you perceive the world to be reinforcing your negative belief about yourself or the world, when really that's not what's actually happening, and that then causes you a whole bunch of pain. So how do you find your negative foundational beliefs? There are a couple of ways to do this, and I have lots of other videos on this, so if you want more detail, you can definitely find those videos. But just to give you kind of like a quick guide, number one way is whenever you have a painful thought, whenever you have a thought that causes you pain to think, like I'm fat and ugly, or I'm stupid, or the world is against me, or whatever, and that thought feels terrible inside your body, that is your indicator that that is a negative foundational belief, and or that is something that is piled on top of a negative foundational belief, right? So you can follow a negative thought, you can follow a negative emotion. So if you're just like constantly feeling anxiety, constantly feeling depression, constantly feeling all of these negative emotions that, you know, might seem to have something to do with your circumstances all the time. Like there's always something to be nervous about, there's always something to be depressed about, there's always something to be angry about, blah, 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 blah. But really, like the constant thing is that you're constantly feeling that negative emotion. That again, that's something that you want to take note of. And then so once you've found that negative thought that feels terrible, found that negative emotion that feels terrible, or you notice that you've got these cycles in your life that are constantly happening and never getting you anywhere. So like the constant cycle of trying to eat healthier so that you can lose weight because you hate your body, and then you diet or you restrict or you overexercise or whatever, and that then you don't see any change, and so you binge, and then you go all the way back to like, you know, whatever, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want, since it's not gonna help change my body anyways, blah, 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 and then you get to like, I hate my body, so I'm gonna diet, and you do the cycle over and over again, or like smoking, quitting smoking, smoking, quitting smoking, drinking, quitting drinking, drinking, quitting drinking, negative relationships over and over and over again. Those are all the warning signs, right? So those are all the like flags that say, hey, we've got a negative foundational belief about the world going on here. So then from that thing, so the negative thoughts, negative emotion, or negative habit that happens over and over again, you take that stuff and you sit with it and you start to get curious about it, and you start to say, okay, what if this thought isn't true? Or what is this negative emotion trying to tell me? What is this negative pattern trying to distract me from, right? And you start to practice sitting with these things. So you give yourself that 15 minutes when you have that urge to do your cycle, right? You're like, okay, I see it. I see what's happening here. I'm starting to get on the scale, and I'm starting to figure out about my weight, and I'm starting to Google diets, and I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to sit for 15 minutes, and I'm going to say, what if this has nothing to do with my cycle, right? This is a negative foundational belief that's trying to come up to show me that it's there, and I'm trying to distract myself from it. When the negative emotion comes up, you don't run away, you don't drug yourself, you don't numb yourself, whatever, you sit with that negative emotion. When the negative thought comes up, you don't run away, you don't try and fix it, you don't try to make it go away, you sit with it, you get curious about it. Why are you here? What are you doing? Why are you here? What are you doing? Okay? So this is, and then after a period of time of sitting with your stuff and sitting with your emotions, maybe you need to journal, maybe you need to get your thoughts out, maybe you need to talk to somebody, right? Like this process of just breaking down your resistance to what's actually underneath takes time. And then you will discover, usually you will hit upon like, holy shit, I fully believe da 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 da. And this is like painted my whole life. I completely believe that I'm only valuable when I'm producing something. I completely believe that it's only okay if I'm struggling with my weight because my whole family struggles with their weight and I can't let that go and be not part of the tribe anymore. Right? Like you will discover these negative foundational beliefs that are like, right? So like that negative foundational belief is like, if I am healthy and happy, I'm not a part of the tribe anymore, right? Like that's a crazy foundational belief that keeps you suffering and suffering and suffering. Anyways, so you've discovered these foundational beliefs. You're at this point where you've discovered this foundational belief. What do you do now? Okay, so from here, the first thing I want to say is, do not, under any circumstances, come hell or high water, no matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone does, even if someone has a gun to your head, do not take my word for this. Do not take my word. Do not take my word. Go and practice what I'm about to tell you. Okay? Go have an experience for yourself. This right here, what I'm telling you, is the textbook on how to fly a plane. Okay? This is just the words on a page, right? It is nothing like actually flying an airplane. Okay? What you want is the experience of flying an airplane. This right here is not that experience, okay? So listening to me talk and like reading the textbook so that you don't have to go fumble around on a plane and like crash a couple of times and maybe die, obviously beneficial, right? Having some foreknowledge of what's going to happen and what's going to come up and how this process looks, because you're not the first person to ever have a negative foundational belief and you're not the first person to ever cure it or change it, is awesome, right? When you kind of know how this is going to unfold and what kind of, questions to ask yourself and stuff like that, that's awesome. That's really great stuff. And I think that that's part of the benefit of being humans is we can like share this stuff with each other. I can basically say, look, I can't take the journey for you, but I can give you some roadmap. I can give you a little guidance. I can give you a little assurance. I can give you a little support on you taking your road. And that's basically all I can really do for you. But the thing is, right, if you don't actually go out and fly the plane, me having flown the plane and then telling you about how to do it doesn't actually give you the experience of flying the plane, okay? So, like I say, do not take my word for this. Go and try it for yourself. Apply it several times, because the first thing is, there are two terrible scenarios that happen if you just take my word for it. Number one is I'm wrong, and then you go around believing that you have some sort of answer that you don't actually have, and that's shitty. Number two, even worse than that, is I'm right, and you don't do it, so then it doesn't actually work for you. You see what I'm saying? It's like there is absolutely nothing worse to me on this planet than watching people have the key to break themselves out of their prison and they just never think to actually stick the key in the lock and turn it and open the door and walk out. You see what I'm saying? Like, just because you have the key doesn't mean you're free. You see? You have to actually turn the key. Just because you know how to fly an airplane doesn't mean you've flown the airplane. Just because you've heard me tell you what to do about a negative foundational belief does not mean you are free from your negative foundational beliefs. You have to practice. Okay? So, don't take my word for it. Do this. Okay? So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, how do you change a foundational belief? Okay. Number one, here's what I'm going to say. The most amazing part of this is, if you can just get yourself to do the sitting with it practice, and the getting curious about it practice, and the just allowing yourself to be with the uncomfortable emotion, be with the uncomfortable thoughts, be with the uncomfortable desire to do your behavior and then not do it, this process will naturally unfold for you. You don't actually have to do anything about changing your negative foundational beliefs, because the thing is, under loving scrutiny, Okay, so under your constant, I'm just curious about this, I'm just looking into this, I'm just going to sit and be with this, I'm going to sit and approve of myself unconditionally while I'm experiencing this. As you allow yourself to kind of like, really what you're doing here is creating space between you and the negative foundational belief, right? You being the perfect, already whole, already pure, already completely in alignment with ultimate reality being, separate from the thought or the foundational belief, which is just a construct. This is how you slowly unravel this, okay? So like the more kind of just like space you can say is like, okay, I'm just having an experience of this negative belief. I'm just having an experience of this negative foundational perception of the world. I'm just having the experience of this thing, but it's not who I am. It's not true to me. I am this perfect, divine, whole being that as I am sitting with my negative emotion, as I am sitting with my negative thoughts, as I am sitting with my negative habits, I am reconnecting with my divinity at the exact same time that I'm connecting with my shadow. You see what I'm saying here? And as you sit with that, it's all just gonna unravel itself, okay? So really what I'm saying here is that if the core foundational belief has not unraveled itself yet, just keep sitting with it. But again, every single time you come and sit with it, don't come with the intention of you're gonna fix it, or you're gonna get rid of it, or you're gonna cure yourself, or you're gonna fix yourself, or any of these things, right? Keep coming with kindness. Keep coming with just curiosity, right? Keep coming with the intent, with the understanding that I have taken on this negative foundational belief, this negative, pattern, this negative emotional state for a reason. And it was for a beneficial reason. This is not something that I need to attack, or that I need to destroy, or that I need to get rid of because it's hurting me. It's like, this was here to protect me. I did this for a positive reason. So now if I can just sit here lovingly with myself, with whatever comes up, sit here lovingly with the thought, the emotion, the feeling with whatever comes up, it starts to dissolve itself. And really, like, again, don't take my word for this. I have had experiences where I just sit with my anxiety long enough, really like sit with it, don't do anything. I just like didn't do anything about it. Like even in my mind, you just practice over and over, just not reacting, not doing anything, realizing this is just something that your experience is not who you are. It's not what you are. It's not permanent, right? As I do this, eventually the negative foundational belief reveals itself. And in that moment, it pretty much dissolves, because it all of a sudden, like in the light of consciousness, in the light of just sitting and being with it, in the light of non-judgment, in the light of I'm just curious, what are you doing here? What are you trying to show me? It just unravels itself. It really stops making any sense, right? So, and again, most of us just have many layers of resistance built up on top of our negative foundational beliefs. So if you're still having those negative feelings, still having those negative thoughts, still having those negative behavior pattern desires, just keep being with it. Just keep being with it, just keep being with it, just keep being with it, because you haven't quite found it yet. And that's the thing. Most people really think they've hit on it. They really believe that they've hit on it a lot of the time. But the thing is, if it still is triggering for you, if it still makes sense to you, if it's still like, yeah, I can see how that works, and like, can't everyone else agree with me on this? Then you haven't hit on it yet. Okay? Because when you really hit on the core foundational belief that's out of alignment, and you really see it for what it is, it no longer makes sense. And it's crazy how that happens, right? You will know it when it happens. And so this is what I'm saying. You don't have to do anything about it except for just look at it. And again, practice releasing that resistance, releasing resistance, releasing resistance, being loving with yourself, being tender with yourself, seeing that the negative foundational belief, the negative experience, the negative emotion isn't you. It's just a story that's happening. okay? And you create that space, you create that love, you create that tenderness, you're cradling yourself and the thing at the same time. That love eventually brings it all to light, and then you see it, and then you're like, holy shit, that doesn't make any sense, right? And you might have to do that a couple of times, right? You might like forget. And this is what I'm saying. It's like really this is just a practice of being with yourself. And I know that I'm starting to sound like a huge broken record here on this channel, and that's great. I hope that you get so sick of hearing me say, just learn to practice being with yourself and not do anything about it so many times. Like, I hope that you get so sick of it that you just are like, fine, I'm gonna just do it just cause, like, I don't wanna hear her say it anymore. But really, that's it, right? Just be loving. Just ask yourself these questions. Where did this thought come from? Why am I attached to this? How is this serving me? Why is this here? If this isn't trying to kill me, what's it trying to do, right? And you release your defenses, release your defenses, release your defenses. All of a sudden you see it, and it will dissolve itself, okay? And you will just start to practice anew. You will start to live anew. You will, because this is, the truth will set you free, and it's just how it is. So if you haven't been set free yet, you haven't quite seen the truth yet, and that's okay. Just be gentle, be kind, go slow, go at the pace that it's going to go, because the thing is, you can't rush this shit, right? If I could give you a secret key to just like unlock all your shit and then you're done forever, I would give it to you. Like, literally, I would give it to you. But I don't have that, and that doesn't exist, because the point is the journey. The process is where all the gold is. And so you might be in the middle of it right now, and it might feel really shitty, and you might kind of hate it, but you're going to look back on this, and you're going to be like, wow, like, I got so much out of that, right? So you can't rush it. You're not doing it wrong, right? Just keep being with yourself. Just keep sitting with yourself. There really is no hack. The hack is be with it and don't do anything. Be with it and don't react. Just love yourself through it and watch it dissolve itself, because it will. It's just a natural process, okay? You're a cork. You're holding yourself underwater. When you let go, it just floats, right? It's natural. It's law. You float. You're perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. There's no deficiency in you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. There never has been, right? And you're just being with yourself long enough to realize that, okay? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I love hearing from you. Like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. Join the Patreon community. I would love to see you in there. If this kind of stuff floats your boat, then yeah, I have so much more of it for you. So check that out down below, and I will see you in the next video.